What would you do if one day your partner drastically changed their appearance? If you've followed me for a while, you'll probably know that I used to date a certain bearded gentleman, and one day he came home with no beard at all. And I mean, he was a handsome dude, but that was a different dude. And when I met him, I would definitely say that my attraction to him was probably 70% his beard. Admittedly, it took me a while to adjust to, but I loved him, and so I was willing to accept him with a different face. But for some people, appearances can make or break their relationship. And that is certainly the case with the husband of a blogger who calls themselves Mommy Blaque, a stay-at-home mommy blogger who decided to make a very drastic change. She decided to shave her entire head without mentioning it to her husband. And her husband is pretty upset about it. In fact, he refuses to have a conversation with her unless she's wearing a wig or a bonnet. Using TikTok as a place to vent, Mommy Blaque has been sharing her many developing feelings about this very drastic change that she's made in her life recently and how it's alienated her husband. And she's also started to question whether or not the stay-at-home life is really for her. Suddenly recognizing that her relationship may not be as strong as she initially thought when her husband cares so much about something that frankly makes her feel a lot better about herself.
Perhaps what confused me is that it doesn't seem like he's been invested in my personal appearance much. I can count on one hand the times that he's told me I'm actually beautiful. I get that it's fucked that I have to wear a wig around him, that I can't let him see my short hair, because God forbid he's not attracted to me. I get that he doesn't really love me. I get it. Yes, it sucks. No, I can't leave right away. No, this isn't rage bait. This is just me sharing this stage of our marriage.
In a lot of ways, Mommy Blaque's page is really fascinating right now because it's almost like you're watching someone deconstruct in real time. And for that reason, I thought that it would be a really interesting topic for a video. And I thought that I would bring you guys some of my observations about the various videos that she's posted and also talk about my own complicated struggles with hair, romance, and relationships. But as per usual, I am getting ahead of myself. Hi, my name is katblaque, and I like to think that I make content for introspective hot people. And if you're here, I'll assume that's you. And if you're brand new here, you know exactly what to do if this video pleases you. You just click my button and join us right here on the channel. Mommy Blaque documents her life as a stay-at-home mom on TikTok to her humble following of just under 23,000. She practices self-coaching, a practice promoted by life coach Brooke Castillo, who predominantly speaks about weight loss and taking control of your life path. Her early content was geared towards women who are on a similar path of both motherhood and weight loss. Her content often focuses on the topic of control and her own struggles with it. She creates a lot of content about body positivity as she documented her weight loss and speaks openly about dealing with insecurity within herself from a very young age. Mary's content feels incredibly warm to me as a person who was once in somewhat of a similar position. Some of you guys may remember my aspiring trad wife phase. Many of you were not around for that. It was not something that I was doing during any time of my YouTube channel where I could be confused with being a public figure or a well-known person. But for a really long time, I was in a relationship where I was trying very hard to be a wife. And I wasn't very good at it. And I was very isolated, and YouTube and later Patreon were really my outlets to vent about all of the things I felt I couldn't share with my partner, who at the time was one of the only social outlets I had in very, very isolated Mission Viejo. When you watch some of her videos, you definitely kind of get the sense that some of them may be a cry for help. Throughout this video, I thought that I would react to some of her videos while doing my makeup.
I'll let you in on a secret. Life is better when you make space for what you love. This world will rob you of every ounce of happiness that you possess if you let it. You have to be intentional about giving yourself something to look forward to. You have to prioritize your joy.
So sadly, children can be people pleasers too, because often people pleasing starts in childhood. The child is always agreeable, easy to get along with, very mellow and even-tempered. If you ask them how they're feeling, they're usually going to say something positive. Most of the time, they're not going to admit to feeling any type of negative emotion. There's usually a fear of conflict or drama, especially with adults. The child will try to do anything to avoid that, try to help mediate it or regulate the adults in the room. Simply seeking praise or approval from others, whether it's their peers or adults in their life. They need to be told that they're doing well, they're doing okay, that they're valid and worthy. They're going to struggle to communicate their wants and desires, and this can definitely translate into adulthood. If you have your own children, hopefully you can recognize those signs in order to avoid them growing up with those tendencies.
I want to say that I do appreciate that she does a lot of basically what I do, which is you go through life, you have certain experiences, you externally process, but in a way where you hope that it helps other people, right? And I for sure have benefited quite greatly from that. And so there's a lot of debate about whether or not this particular way that she is expressing herself is productive. But I know from my own personal experience that me doing that was incredibly productive. It really helped me organize my thoughts and get opinions, you know? It really, really helped me understand, you know, what was and what wasn't, what I should do and what I shouldn't do. In fact, if you're watching this video right now and you gave me advice back then, you probably did have an impact on me. So I definitely understand why she would feel the need to not only make this content as a way of expressing herself and maybe getting those emotions out there, but also finding community of people who have had similar experiences. Like, I know that I struggled still to this day with people pleasing. And something I had to process was that I wasn't really necessarily interested in being a housewife, but I do like taking care of my partners, right? And that is kind of a different thing. You know, like, there's a difference between being a person who wants to bow down to this very patriarchal conception of what a woman's possibilities are, and being somebody who wants to just make sure that your partner is functional and taken care of, right? And so that's something I think about a lot when I'm watching these videos too, because now I would say I have a partner who I do try my very best to take care of quite well in a way that I'm sure my ex probably would have appreciated, right? But in my opinion, the right people bring it out of you. He wasn't the right person, and I'm glad that I figured that out before I got married. For a while, Mary was a single mother, raising the child of a man that she dated while she was in college. Mary would often describe her college years as a bit wild and out there. And she shared on her blog that she wanted stability, and she dreamed of meeting a 6-foot-tall, blue-eyed provider type. And she managed to find him on Hinge after being single for 2 years. He loved her child, and the two married and had 2 children together. However, it's pretty clear that it's not really going as smoothly as she would like it to go, and a lot of her videos focus on criticisms of her husband and how she feels very misunderstood by him.
Girls really just want to see other girls being girls. Moms just want to see other moms being moms. We all want to relate. We all want to connect. We all want to know, but you're feeling what we are feeling because we cannot express it to the guys. They don't get it. They never will, and we can't make them understand. But the girls get it. The moms get it.
But while she does criticize him, it's often followed up with a defense of him.
Everything made me so much happier in my marriage. I figured out and understand my husband's love language. This means learning how to show affection and learning how to watch for it. Don't try to control or criticize his parenting set. It's a do it out. Let him continue. Be unbothered. Give yourself mental and physical space. Don't always be wondering what he's doing, who he's texting, where he's going, what he's thinking. Leave him alone. Be unbothered and focus on your safety. I promise he'll leave you.
Because of her kind of wild college years, Mary Baker definitely feels like it's not likely that she will ever meet a man who will compare to her current partner, a man that will accept her along with her child from a previous relationship.
Self-coaching literally changed my life. Took me from a open sitting addict / alcoholic, lots of hookups, ways to find out a different diet. Now I'm worried today. I am in possession of a wonderful, beautiful meal and 3 lovely, crazy, sweet children. This is by no means bashing single mom, but do you ever go out in public and realize you've forgotten your wedding ring? I want to tell everyone I'm walking past that there is a father involved. I'm not this big of a hoe anymore.
In her videos, she shares that she was raised very religious, being homeschooled from a very young age. And she also shares that she had a family that really instilled with her some very negative feelings about her body, encouraging her to feel self-loathing and have a low self-esteem.
Why did no one tell me that when I thinned out, I would be beautiful? Oh wait, they did. When I was 16, 5'5", about 120 pounds, my grandma turned and looked at me in her kitchen and said, "Mary Catherine, when you thin out, you will be a beauty." Those words have stuck with me. I have never thought of myself as beautiful, and I do not blame her. Some days I really do believe that I won't be lovable or desirable till I have what I consider to be the perfect body. I see a girl who I think is perfect physically. I assume her whole life is perfect. Her friends are perfect. She has no problems. She has everything that I don't have. And it's my fault because I'm on social media too much. And I compare myself way too fucking much to literally every woman I see. I'm so judgmental, and I hate that about myself.
Mary has been documenting her weight loss journey, but wouldn't be happy with herself even after she reached her goal weight.
I am just about 2-3 pounds from my goal weight that I set when I was about 40-50 pounds heavier. And it is so crazy because I still don't think of myself as anywhere near to my goal. I think I've got so much muscle to build. I've got so many athletic type things that I want to do now. Basically, I'm still just so dissatisfied with my body, which is such a horrible thing to say because I've had 3 beautiful children really close together. Hold on. Aww. 3 children really close together, so I should be so grateful to my body, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it just puts things in perspective because I totally thought that I would be so much happier. The grass is always greener, isn't it?
Along with her weight loss journey, she documented her evolving feelings about being a stay-at-home mom. And it's pretty clear that, unfortunately, her husband isn't really doing much to help her, with her constantly mentioning that she would really like a partner who is more 50-50.
Huge perk of having children is the fact that you will never eat in peace again. Always be sharing your meal with 1, 2, 3, however many other people. Of course I wanted my food to be half chewed and then spit out into my hand. Of course I did. Why are men like this? That's how you cut a grape. Don't give it to them whole. It won't go down their throat. It'll be your fault. Because it's fun and it's in my brain and it needs to come out.
It becomes clear in her content that she very rarely has time alone, and that TikTok is largely where she chooses to vent, and the longer you watch, the more you feel like she's waking up and starting to see how some of these things are not working for her. As time goes on, her videos become a bit longer and more expressive. She opens up about her past and shares that she, in some ways, has lost her identity within this marriage. She opens up about her background being homeschooled and about how negatively that likely impacted her.
Are you changing things just to please the man when, it really is about what makes you feel confident, makes you feel good about yourself, and maybe that's the reason that you felt like you lost your identity somewhat, because even though these things are only external, you've associated them with your personality and your past self. The women have done crazier things for men, that's for sure. What do they know? They don't know what looks best on us. They don't know anything. They can't even dress themselves. Once you accept that you're not one of those pretty people who's gonna look pretty in videos, which, rest in peace. To my self-esteem, it's on the floor. My self-esteem's been in a coma for a long time. It was definitely in a coma when I was in all these pointless relationships based on absolutely nothing. Can we talk about the roommate phase in your marriage or in your relationship? There's very little flirting. We don't really go on dates. Our kids sleep in our bed with us.
In a little bit, yes. In a little bit, yes.
Is it my fault? I feel like my husband and I are roommates. I think it might be because I'm nursing. I'm choosing to have the baby in the bed with us. I don't feel any type of really romantic way toward him right now. That sounds horrible. I'm beyond thankful for him, but there are a lot of little things, I think, that either turn me off or they bother me now just because I'm so touched out. I don't know if it has to be that way with little kids. I don't know if I'm making myself, because I'm saying it's hard, then it is hard. Am I creating this difficult situation just by believing it's difficult? We have everything in our family right now, except we have no relationship. Our marriage feels like nothing. I guess it's and I don't know how to balance. Hire a babysitter more often, be intentional about the time we spend together, be more appreciative. But like, I would feel like I would put in all that effort, and then like he would benefit from that effort. He would not probably put in the same amount of effort. I don't look cute anymore. I haven't looked cute in a long time. I don't feel desirable in any way. That's probably the biggest reason that this relationship feels kind of dead, is because I don't feel like I'm really in it. I'm not really here. So focused on pouring my energy into the children. The thing is, like, I don't even think I'm that good of a mother. I think I just either I neglect myself, or I was never really that good at taking care of myself in the first place. It's just revealed that I could get away with a lot of harmful behaviors when I was younger and still look okay on the outside. And now that I have kids, it's forcing me to realize that I've never really been a healthy person. I mean, they always talk about communication, and we don't talk as much as I want to. But he's not a big talker. Maybe it's men in general, but some men just don't connect by talking the way, obviously, women connect by talking. And I gotta talk to feel close to him, really. He's gotta touch me to feel close to me. And the touching, it's like checking a box. See, this is just a big complaining session. I question a lot of my life choices. It's what I always thought I wanted, and I do. Like, some type of something is filled because of what I have now and what I get to experience. But also, like, where did I go? I don't have anything I'm good to make me feel good about myself. Just a normal Thursday. Get to know me while we make tuna salad. I definitely wish I was more interesting sometimes. But here we go. My name is Mary, I'm 29, and I'm the second oldest of 8 children. I lived in the city until age 10, and then moved out to the country. It was gorgeous, stunning, but rural. I was also homeschooled, so I really didn't have that many friends growing up. I still don't, but that's beside the point. I think my parents found their identity in religion and tried to instill that as much as they could in their kids. For me, the result is that I still go to Mass every week, but I don't really call myself a practicing Catholic. I was homeschooled all the way through high school, and then went to a Catholic college because I think that's the only option my parents wanted for me. I got pregnant my sophomore year with a guy that I'd been dating for about 8 months. I'd had a couple boyfriends, but honestly, mostly not a lot of hookups and things that I'm not proud of, that I definitely wish I could go back and change. In case you're wondering, I didn't marry that guy. I separated from him when my daughter was 6 months old.
She also opens up about being on Lexapro. In fact, apparently she's been dependent on it for over a decade. And recently she decided to go off of it, and she worries if that decision is how we got here. Oh my gosh. So when I saw this video, it was what made me want to do this video, because fun fact, fun little story about Kat Blaque. I was in an abusive relationship my last year of college, and it set me into a very negative place. And ultimately, I decided as a way of kind of like breaking away from it all, to shave my head. And I didn't shave all of my hair. I left my bangs. It was very, very tank girl vibes, I'll say. But I cut my hair and it felt freeing. Like, I remember the way it felt. I remember the feeling of holding those clippers in my hand and being like so satisfied by the feeling of shaving my head and then feeling that it was bald there. Because especially at that point, I hadn't been close to bald in a very long time, right? Shaving my head was an attempt at me punishing myself. It was an attempt at me basically trying to make myself unattractive, right? And it did not work, but it did kind of end up being a very liberating thing. You know, if I'm in a situation where I have to shave my head, I know that I can still be bald and beautiful. But we're not going to try to make that happen sooner than it needs to, though. Glad we had the experience. Glad we went through it. But we're not going to go back there. We're not going back. We're not going back. But anyway, I totally understand why she did this, right? She wanted to be in control. And that's the reason why a lot of women shave their head. For a lot of women, shaving their head, it is a sign of not only control, but change. And looking at her face right now, looking at her crying, it's like, I totally understand.
Honestly, it didn't even occur to me to have a conversation with him before. Looking back, if I had a conversation with him, I know that he would have not let me. That sounds like really controlling and possessive, but he would have talked me out of it. Sweetheart, hold on. So yeah, he would have totally talked me out of it if I had tried to talk about it with him. And I didn't even think to really talk about it, because to me, I don't know, something like this, it was kind of the first time that I hadn't asked someone else's opinion, because I've asked people's opinions. Sweetheart, what would you like? I've asked people's opinions on my entire life, almost every single decision. I usually ask someone else's opinion, and it always matters more than my own. So that's your typical people pleaser, codependent person, whatever. So, but yes, probably a conversation should have been had. I don't think I'll do this ever again in my life, but if I did, I think I would have had a conversation. I definitely would have. So I totally agree with you, and thank you for commenting.
As she shares about her husband's negative reaction, she starts to talk a bit more about his background and shares that he has a very traumatic past.
Let's talk about all the reasons that I was attracted to him in the first place. This man didn't grow up with a father. He grew up poor. He watched his mom struggle. He didn't have pretty much the complete opposite of me. And because of that, he is absolutely determined to be the best father possible, to be the most present father, to not only provide for his children and his family, but to create a legacy and take care of his own family. He has a younger brother who has special needs, and the way that he talks about him and wanting him to have the most amazing life possible and wanting him to have opportunities. He speaks of people that he cares. We don't live in a good city, but there are lots of homeless people, and he constantly, and this is something my dad did and still does growing up, but he's always, going and buying homeless people things, or just, always has cash to give them, or we'll go buy them a meal. So he's generous. He's so incredibly generous. He's not afraid of hard work, and I don't mean physical labor, but that too. He is so persistent. He is so driven. He's so stubborn. He doesn't let the way he feels get in the way of what he is striving for. So he kind of, follows through on his goals, or continues to work through on his goals, our goals, regardless of how he's feeling that day. And if he has a bad day, like we all do, he says that's just part of it. There's going to be good days and bad days. What really drew me to him initially, because I met him when my daughter was 2.5, I think 2.5, maybe 2. But the way that he played with her, talked about her, spoke about her, thought independently, and he still does this all the time. He thinks about activities and opportunities for her. She loves art. She's amazingly creative and talented. Like, it's incredible. But he has sought out like different art camps and just things like that. And he is so concerned and adamant about the well-being of our children, the way they eat, the way they sleep. He is more than a 50-50 parent. The way that he comes home and he will tidy up the house if it needs it without asking. He doesn't complain if I don't get to the laundry. He knows that I'm exhausted a lot of the time because this one is on me all the time and is still nursing throughout the night. And I still only get 2, maybe 3 hours of sleep at the most. And we've agreed that this is a temporary, hard time because we're both depleted in a lot of ways. And our relationship and our marriage has kind of taken a back seat. This man didn't grow up with religion. His family didn't go to church at all. I grew up very, very strict Catholic. He, of his own accord, not because of me, converted to Catholicism. He is very, very strict about going to Mass. He goes to Bible study.
Now, look, I don't have kids. I'm sure that if I ever did, I don't want kids, but if that ever was a thing, maybe there are aspects of what she's saying that I would understand a lot more. But it sounds like she's listing off a lot of basic stuff. And I think that that's sometimes the sad thing. I mean, a lot of women have such negative experiences with men that men are able to come by and like do the bare minimum and like, that's enough, And it's sad because it shouldn't be.
The short answer is that he absolutely hated it. And I think he hated me a little bit. He said he felt betrayed. He felt like I had cheated on him. I totally didn't think about how we're supposed to stay attractive to each other, how looks are very important in a relationship. Before you come after my husband, I get it, but I also do think his reaction was a little shallow. But he's entitled to that. It's okay. If he actually loves me for who I am, then he'll see the change in my demeanor. He'll understand. If he doesn't, that's okay. He kept looking for a logical reason as to why I did this. I couldn't really give him one. If you are a human, then I guess a human woman, then you know that men don't get intuition. They're not told. They're not taught about it. They're not told to act on it. This was an intuitive decision. This was a very powerful knowing that it needed to happen. He didn't even come into our bedroom last night. He stayed out on the couch with our son. Before I went to bed, I told him that I loved him and that he won't understand. He can't understand, and that's okay. And he didn't say I love you back, but that's okay. This kind of hit, and it makes me think of how the dynamic in our marriage has shifted dramatically in the past, I would say 18 months or so, because when we first met, I was making quite a bit more money than him. I did corporate accounting for years, but right before I had our third child, who's now 1, I stopped working to be a stay-at-home mom of our 3 little kids. And that coincided with him changing jobs and making quite a bit more money. I mean, it didn't make a ton of sense for me to quit working, but my job was so incredibly stressful at that point that we decided that, I would be home with the kids and be kind of a mental health break. Gradually, of course, the dynamic has shifted with he makes the money. He makes most of the decisions. I'm realizing, I'm not okay with that. My first instinct is not to be like, oh, let me get rid of him, because I don't think running away from something that you could potentially help you evolve as a person. And I do love him. I do care about him. All that to say, I've tried the stay-at-home mom thing, And I wouldn't trade that for the world. But what I would trade is the feeling or the lack of conversation around how the money would be handled, kind of our roles. And on the flip side, it's a tremendous amount of pressure on him, you know, suddenly having to support 5 people. These are the choices that I made, and I believe that I'm here for a reason, and I'm in this relationship, and I'm a mother to these children for a reason. A divorce, I don't think a divorce would really solve anything, because we both need to mature, and I think we're both meant to make each other mature. That was so long-winded. God, I'm sorry. I remember the main thing that I wanted to say. Clearly, I gave way too many intimate details, and I'm a little bit embarrassed about that. But I also think it's cool that we can see what other people are going through. No, it may not be the most appropriate, but also, you know, having people comment certain things and like just getting all of these different perspectives, you're not going to find that anywhere else except the internet. Like, I definitely got caught up in my response videos. That's embarrassing that I got so caught up in my own drama and I felt the need to explain or justify or talk about how hurt I was. But the funny thing is, like, 12 hours later or whatever, I'm like, I'm not hurt that he responded that way. I don't expect him to like this. It's not sexy. It's not sexy at all. It'd be like if he came in like full drag makeup and fake. I was like, I love that. I'd be like, hey buddy, what's going on? You know, you all right up there? So I'm pretty sure that's how he reacted to me. Also, what bothered me is that I need a wig on for him to talk to me. But even that, like, also in hindsight, I wish I would have had a conversation with him because I value communication, and we've had far too little of it in the last few years with me having babies so close together. I did not recognize or educate myself about things that I could possibly slip into, like feeling isolated, not taking care of myself properly. So we had some conversations last night, thankfully, finally, once I had the wig on, LOL. It was such a quick decision for me, and that's why I didn't have a conversation with him initially.
Thank you. I really hope that this is the case, and it's still just shock, and it's not like I'm really even letting him see this haircut. I'll wear a wig or a bonnet at home. Because he literally won't talk to me, and he has made the comments about me being, you know, lesbian, you know, even though we have 3 very little kids. And like, but, I mean, that's not... I guess I don't know. I think it is saying a lot about him. Maybe, but I don't know if I'm totally in the wrong. I really don't. It was such a cool thing to kind of do for myself, and he's taken it really, really badly, and I don't know if, like, he'll get over it, because it's going to be such a temporary thing. And I mean, if he can't deal with it, like, when he's home on the weekends, I'll do this for him if it's that painful, you know. But like during the week, I'm not gonna wear. Sweetie, you just spilled all your water here. But like, I'm gonna do this during the week, I guess, until it grows, you know, to an acceptable length for him. That's so wrong, doesn't it? And I don't know, maybe he's just a shallow guy, you know. Like, I guess he can have very good qualities, but then like the attraction thing is huge, and that is why, you know, we got together in the first place. And I get that. I totally get it. But like, there are some women on here talking about like my partner would like still love me so much, like if I did something like this, or like they would still call me beautiful, whereas mine can't even speak to me. So like, I don't want to cry, but like it's very sucky. And I'm not saying he has to like how I look. He doesn't. It's masculine. It does look like I've gone to the other side, like I should drive a Subaru instead of my mom SUV full of car seats, you know.
But it does suck. But guess what? We're going to do marriage counseling, finally. Finally, we've talked about doing it before, but, you know, maybe this is the catalyst. Is that the right word? I don't know, but I like the word catalyst. I probably will never use it right, ever. Are you talking on the phone? But anyway, very long-winded, but... we'll see. This is a cool part. I say cool. This is a cool part of my life because I'm like making some of my own decisions about my own body. Wow, crazy. And you know, anyone who has dealt with SA in their past, as I have from a very young age, I mean, I probably am still holding on to a lot of that. So, hey, sweet. But anyway, sorry I'm so long-winded. I still don't sleep much through the night, and so I think my speech is still kind of delayed because of that. But anyway, thank you. This is an excellent point. But unless his hygiene was super, super, super bad, there's nothing he could do. And there's no way that he could look that would make me, like, not want to look at him. Because, and I hate to make this sound like such a sob story. It's just kind of first time I've had, like, any drama in my life. Because I'm usually such a passive person. But anyway, like, last night he couldn't even, we were talking, he was sitting on the bed turning away from me. He couldn't even look at me. And he said he couldn't even look at me. So, what did I do? I'm not strong enough to deal with that. So, I already bought a wig. Let me show it to you. So, there you go. And I already bought another one.
It looks good on her.
Just, you know, to switch things up a bit.
Good color.
And, I mean, it kind of works because this way I don't have to, like, I've always, like, done extensions on and off and, like, always wanted, I mean, this is amazing for me. I love that I can just put on any wig or have nothing at all. But if we go out in public together or I'm with him or we go to church, I'll wear this. Obviously not with the hat, like with the headband maybe. But, hey, Tubby Bubby. Hey, thank you. Thank you. And then, like, you know, when he's at work during the day, I'll take it off and be myself, I guess, until it grows or until I decide that I can let go of, like, still that little bit of a need for him to actually like me and look at me without looking disgusted, because that sucks. So.
That is pretty sad.
I get it and I don't get it.
It's interesting because a lot of men have these very distinct reasons for wanting to be with very particular types of women, right? And something that I've unfortunately had to sort of acknowledge is that there are a lot of men who they are completely comfortable being in a situation where they're dating someone they're not attracted to who gives them social capital. And I think in this particular case, a really big reason why he cares is because he perceives it as potentially being something that could make him lose social capital. As time goes on, she starts to share more and more about her ambitions and shares that she actually walked away from quite a few things when she got into this marriage. Apparently, she was a musician and she wants to pick it up again. She is eager to work, to get a job, to be someone outside of this home. And she reveals that apparently one of the only reasons why she is a stay-at-home mom is because her husband requested it.
I don't feel I'm cut out to be a stay-at-home mom, or at least not a full-time one. I understand it's been such a privilege to not have to put my third child in daycare at 8 weeks or 10 weeks like my first two children were. And to have experienced his first full year and to see every single milestone. Like, that will always be such a special thing. The idea came to me to use my 15 years of I'm a classically trained pianist, if you will, and in addition to accounting, I was a church music director / pianist / organist, what the like hands, for 8 years. A very long time. So you could say I'm a musician, so I play the piano and I sing, and I would do that. And people loved it. And I would do weddings and funerals. And anyway, I didn't want to go back to my 9-to-5 accounting job with these 2 little ones. And I still have to pick up my daughter from school. And although my husband's work schedule is more flexible than a 9-to-5 would be, he didn't want to have to do that consistently. Just because of meetings and whatever. More freedom in his schedule. Whatever. So I would be the one to pick her up. God, that's so freaking long-winded. It's okay. That's what the holding for sped up videos is for. Hey, I'm sorry. What would you like? Look, there's a little ball. There's a ball right there. Look at this ball. Look. Okay, so how can I incorporate music in a way that would fit picking up my daughter from school and then maybe get them in a Mother's Day out? But okay, the idea that came to me, and I used to do this when I was younger, is I would go to assisted living places or retirement places and play the piano for the residents. They loved it. Or sometimes there would be like children's little violin recitals or concerts held at the nursing home, and I would be the accompanist and I would play, and just the delight that you could see from those people with the music and then the children, like, to me that was like the ultimate form of fulfillment. Anyway, I'm gonna get a feel for if these places like it, and if they want me to come back, then I'll ask to be paid for it. And that is something that can be completely flexible. Over time, I can build up, like, go to the same places. It's a way to share something that feels incredibly easy to me and incredibly fulfilling. I only have 1 cup of coffee, so. My whole point was that things happen in God's time, not your own. And I'm gonna start crying. This morning, this just felt like something that was too good to be true, but it is absolutely, totally feasible to do something that I absolutely love, be paid really well for it, bring joy to people through music, and still be with my kids most of the time, but also still have time to myself. I didn't think that something like that could exist. God, why do I think it's still postpartum hormones and breastfeeding hormones, but and I don't know why I felt the need to share that or talk to my phone, but what it means for me is kind of like the Bible verse, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it will be opened to you. You can't just pray for something and not take any action towards it. You pray for something and then you go to work and you take action even if it doesn't feel like the right action. At some point, things are going to fall into place, and this feels a little bit scary to do something that I haven't done for a while. I've done it before. I haven't done it for a while. I need to brush up on my piano skills and learn, kind of like some old-timey music. But I'm leaning into that, like, feeling side of myself more than I ever have in my life. I think I could do that. You're so silly, Bubby. I didn't think I could do that in a way that would lead to anything tangible or productive.
She would continue to share updates about how her husband feels about her hairstyle, but eventually it became kind of clear that she was tired of bending. She eventually stops wearing the wigs and the bonnets and actually starts to experience some positive interaction from him. And while that's nice, it's really, really hard for her to unring the bell of her husband communicating to her that he's not attracted to her. In fact, she actually gets an additional haircut. She cleans up the sides a bit more, and her husband hates it even more.
In my husband's mind, he will be like, we have already talked about this, and so there's no need for you to keep bringing it up again. Now, I'll try to bring things up maybe in different ways, gently. But I already know there's like a exasperation from him. There's a sigh, quiet desperation. And that's I try to bring up about my hair. It bothered him.
I think
That's sad. Really sad.
is as simple as she changed up her hair once again, what she's used to, because I do that constantly.
Oh, she changed it again.
She's never belittled me or told me that I'm ugly or anything. Of course, since it was still always long. So, my wife changed up her hair again. No surprise there, except this time it just made her look really fucking masculine. And really, really ugly. Now she looks like a
dyke. And that's a very bad thing for him, apparently. He never questioned or never cared to know, like, why I would change up my hair or be tan or not tan. Just like anything with my appearance. Like, he didn't care to know. So it really should be no surprise that he's unable to grasp or doesn't want to go into why I wanted to do this. His perspective is just another crazy thing that changed. That just, like, it as simple as that. And he just really hated it. I truly believe it's that simple. Even though I don't want to believe it, I want to believe that he has the capacity to kind of see why certain things are meaningful to me. And he does with some things, but like, I guess with my appearance, I don't know why. He just can't or won't. Maybe because it is part of a guy's identity, like the woman that they're with, or some guys.
Yeah.
Maybe. Just the way we look is a reflection on him. And yeah, like,
yes,
the opposite is
that
true
is
as well.
exactly what it is. I mean, it's sad because, you know, in this scenario, you see very clearly the way that the propaganda has gotten to her, right? She believes that when they met and they had their quick thing and, you know, he was so loving and so this and so that it was something other than him positioning himself to gain social capital. But that is what it is for a lot of these men. A lot of these men, they want to be with a feminine woman with long hair because in our society, that means that they will gain social capital. And you have to think about what her parameters were when she was looking for a man as well, right? Like, she was looking for a tall, blue-eyed, presumably white man who's a provider, right? So she herself, in many ways, based a lot of her own identity on the physical appearance and attributes of her partner, right? I mean, there's a lot of reasons maybe why you could say that she preferred blue eyes and someone who's 6'3", but that probably is also based in her own feelings, her own desire to be validated, specifically by a tall white man, right? A tall white man who makes money, right? And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. You know, look, if white people love white people, you know, the grass is green and the you know, the sky is blue. You know, it's not too shocking to me. Not really, right? But it's worth thinking about because in this scenario, she's shocked that he feels that way. But if you go back, she put on her vision board that she wanted a 6'3" blue-eyed man who's a provider. And as much as I think that those are fine aspirational goals, they're also goals that don't include maybe all of these other things that you required as well, right? A tall man who makes money is not necessarily a good man. In fact, I would say that he is more likely than not to be a bad man. Not to profile, but, you know, some men should not know that they're tall. Let's just put it that way. Mary Blaque would share with her audience that cutting her hair was truly a turning point, and that it set her on a path of self-empowerment and self-care. In fact, she even started to gain a little bit of weight again. And while she's going to work to get it off again, she's objectively much happier. And I personally think that that is a good thing.
So for the first time in my life, I'm a little thicker, a little heavier than normal. And since I cut my hair and started taking better care of my skin, my teeth, my nails, worrying about like taking longer showers, just general self-care that I had been neglecting, I still feel just as cute, even if I'm a little thicker, even if my energy is down because I've been eating too much sugar. Frankly, this is the first time in my life where I haven't constantly put myself down or berated myself.
Amen.
Because it's really not that deep. I'm eating whatever. Is that great? No. But I'm not making it mean something about my character, about my like morals or values. I know I'll get back in a phase where, I mean, I'm still working out, but like, I'll get back in a phase where I'm a little more strict. You know, we fluctuate and it's just, I still feel cute. I've never felt that before. Anytime I've gained weight in the past, I've always been so quick to just like, oh my God, I gotta get back to that other number as soon as possible. But when I cut my hair, I threw away my scale too.
Amen.
And it's just it's like a
is just kind of mind-blowing for me. And also kind of sad that I've spent so many years just being so critical when it wasn't necessary. It really wasn't. Because you don't notice if your friends or families really, if they put on a little bit of weight or lose a little bit of weight, like, you don't love them anymore, any less. You don't. So why should you do that for yourself? Why should you be that way?
Amen. 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 And that's the thing that's so interesting to me about a lot of these videos. She very obviously feels better about herself. Like, she's hiding herself right now, and she's doing this thing where she's going to wear a wig in front of her husband. But when she's by herself in the room, looking at herself and her bald head, she loves it. She absolutely loves it. And that is something I think is worth acknowledging. Like, it's funny because those of you guys who followed me when I was dating my ex will attest that a lot has changed about the way that I present myself. I am a very different person from when I was making videos from Orange County. And I had to find myself. And I think shaving my head was in some ways the very beginning of that, even though I did that before I met my ex, right? That was one of those steps where I was like, hey, I actually am in control of my body. And sometimes you need those reminders, right? I think that she's in a situation right now where she feels very controlled. She feels very limited. But at the end of the day, she can liberate herself from it. I think, unfortunately, some women in her position find out the hard way that a lot of men benefit way more from marriage than women do. Edward works in celebrity, divorce, and family law. And one of the things that he has explained to me is that marriage as an institution is really there to protect the traditional woman. And what he means by that is marriage is supposed to function a certain way because really it's all about providing for the children and making sure that if a divorce does happen, those children are still provided for. When men marry, they gain quite a bit. When men marry, it is one of the ways that they're able to be seen as powerful in the eyes of other men. A very disempowered man may be able to go out into the world and feel like everyone is dominating him. But for a lot of men, the closest they will ever come to conquest is marrying and impregnating a woman. Men are also able to ask for higher pay once they get married. I have a family has been used as a justification for men to get raises for many, many years. When men procreate with women, they gain quite a bit. And there are men who are indeed interested in just finding the willing woman who's willing to do that and leaving her behind. It's also really important to point out that in her depiction of her life as a stay-at-home mother, it's very obviously incredibly alienating and isolating. And that is kind of the natural result of capitalism, frankly, right? Like, you end up idolizing this thing that is really about moving you completely away from community, hoarding wealth, and being individualistic, right? It's something that through these videos you can tell is not working, no matter how much she wants to cling to these ideas. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't fight for this life if it's what she wants, but I am saying that it's very obvious she's not happy. It's also very obvious that since she has taken a lot of this into her own hands, she has started to feel a lot better about herself. And I think that that is a wave worth riding. As a Black transgender woman, hair has always been a little contentious for me. I would say that I feel my most feminine with shorter hair. But I would also say that sometimes styling that shorter hair is complicated. This hairstyle is kind of my attempt at seeing what my old hairstyle would look on me as I'm a bit older, right? My hair used to be this short. If I straighten my hair, it's a bit longer. My hair is about down to here right now. Next time you guys see me, I will probably be wearing braids, so that's going to be a thing. But hair has often been contentious for me because so frequently it's been tied to my femininity. And personally, that has been a journey for me in another way as a Black woman, right? I did not see a lot of pictures of my mother with natural hair until she passed away, right? And now I have all of these great photos of my mom with natural hair. And it's like, it's so inspiring to me. And I've mentioned this a couple of times, but you know, even though I have this like look that I've committed to for YouTube, it's not necessarily my most favorite look, right? I have had to calculate which appearances of mine get me the furthest. And I've sort of accepted that within this algorithm, this is the hairstyle that people prefer. And who knows, maybe it's because it's the one that you guys have seen, who knows? I know that some people really like my braids, so you'll maybe be seeing those again, though I will say they are going to be black. Ever since my mom passed away, I've been really, I don't know, weird about having colorful hair. I was thinking about maybe doing a little bit of something, but I don't know, man. I'm maybe just not feeling that right now. So it's gonna be black, it's gonna be human, so it's gonna be in my hair for a little bit. And I love my hair. And I'm very thankful that I have partners who largely do not care about my hair. The only partner of mine who has a lot to say about my hair is Edward. Edward definitely tends to prefer what I look like with alternative hairstyles, but he has communicated to me that he's kind of sick of this hairstyle. He's kind of sick of this hairstyle because, to be fair, it is the hairstyle that I've been wearing for well over a year now. So maybe it is time to switch it up. I think the thing I appreciate also about my partners is that they sort of expect for me to have different hair. It is really interesting to see the different way that people react to me based on my hair. I mean, if I have my natural hair out, that is basically the hair that I can have to feel invisible. If I ever want to feel incognito in society, I just wear my natural hair. And I guess for me, that's almost like a superpower because I frequently want to not be perceived. I'm so thankful that my partners wouldn't want to dump me for my hairstyles. And I know that if I shaved my head tomorrow, my partners would be fairly indifferent to it. But my partners would also know me well enough to know that I'm probably going to pop a wig on in a week. I find that hair is such an interesting way that occasionally the patriarchy tries to control women. The patriarchy really hates when women cut their hair. You'll notice that when they criticize women and their expression, a lot of times it relates to that, right? Blue-haired, crazy feminist, right? That's kind of what that's all about, right? A lot of men have a visceral reaction to women who choose to do something outside of the male gaze for their hair. Anyway, I hope that Mary makes whatever decision is right for her, but I really do hope that she follows her intuition and pursues what she knows makes herself feel better. It is not a bad thing for you to feel at home in your body. In fact, so many forces in this society are trying to make you not feel comfortable with your body. And I think it means a lot that she, in this moment, was able to do something for herself and is able to move forward with an attitude of self-care. Personally, I think that's a good sign. And the only reason why, you know, her husband would try to convince her that it's a bad thing, that she's crazy, that she's a lesbian, is because he wants to discourage that kind of strength. And that is unfortunately kind of why patriarchy exists, really, to police women and keep them down and to make sure that they never quite get as strong as they really can be. And I hope that she continues to pursue her strength, even if it means she stays with her husband. I mean, girl, I would leave, but, you know, I'm not saying that it's impossible. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. I am so curious how you guys feel about this. How would you feel if your partner was like, look, I can't be around you with that hairstyle. You need to put a wig on. I would die. I would absolutely die. So I'm really curious how you guys feel about that. Anyway, on that note, I will talk to you guys later. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me over on Patreon. And now I'm going to give a special shout out to my last 3 Patreon members, C-Star67, Jack, and Smokey. Anyway, on that note, I will talk to you guys next time. And as per usual, I want you to always remember and to never forget that you are beautiful and you are loved. Bye. Bye.